Exclusively on ESPN Plus, UFC 313, Saturday. Reigning light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira defends his title against number one contender Magomed Ankalaev, and an explosive lightweight bout between Justin Gaethje and Rafael Pazzi. UFC 313, Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Buy it on ESPNplus.com/PPV.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
We're not against rap. We're not against rappers. But we are against those.
Something big about to happen. I hear the beat tapping. We some fly rhyming felines rapping on the track. Better yet, grab a gat, cause we hot like Enzo. Doors closed, windows up, cause that's the way we like to ride. Windy City hitting. Check mic 1 2 1 2. We live, baby.
Yo, what's up, Chicago? And welcome back to episode 5 of Talk ChaLata with myself, Miss Hip Hop, and my co-host, my mom, Chris. Hey, Mom.
Hey, Star.
Before we get started, I want to tell everybody out there, thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast within the podcast. And if you like what you're hearing, follow us on Spotify under Speak Your Mind Radio, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Speak Your Mind Radio. And Talk ChaLata is within the podcast of Speak Your Mind. Okay, that's all I wanted to say to everybody.
Okay. So, how's everybody doing? I hope everybody's fine. Hope you guys can hear me because I've been experiencing a little technical difficulty. So I hope you guys can hear me. I'm Chris. I'm Miss Hip Hop's mom, as she said. And we're going to talk about some things today.
Some deep things.
Well, my daughter asked me a question some time ago. And I thought I'd share with you guys. She asked me what stopped me from using drugs. And so I will share with you guys, I am a ex-drug user. And let me back up a little bit more. I've always been into, if you look back at our first episode of Talk ChaLata, the reason I have this type of background with the spaceship, because as long as I can remember, I've always been interested in the stars, the galaxies, the moons, looking up at the sky when I was little. And none of that has changed. And I used to use drugs. I used to use quite a bit of drugs. And one night, I was going through an episode. It was a pretty bad episode, but not as bad as the one that stopped me. But this particular episode, I was looking up at the sky, and I remember saying, if you exist, if you're really real, give me a sign, something. And it was a very hot, still summer night. Nothing was blowing. And the wind started blowing heavily, and the trees were swaying and everything, like a thunderstorm was coming. And as quickly as it started, it stopped. Okay, no big deal, right? But to me it was. And there was a time where I had an episode, and again, I'm getting ahead of myself. as I said, I used to think a lot about the stars, the galaxies, and is there anyone else or something else here beside us? And as I pondered these things, I'm an avid reader, so I was reading a lot, doing a lot of research, and I came across this lady, and I mentioned her before in our podcast, Dolores Cannon. And it was this one particular lecture that she was giving that it hit home with me. And by the way, when I started watching her, I'm still thinking about a lot of things that I was going through. And it was something that she said in the lecture. And hopefully you guys will be able to hear that little piece that I'm talking about. So getting back to my episode, I was high and I had a really bad trip. And I remember running out of my house, screaming, and just running down the streets, yelling and screaming. And there was a big intersection in the where we live. And I just remember running into the streets, and I could see the headlights of the cars coming toward me in both directions. And for whatever reason, the cars were like carving themselves in and out to keep from hitting me. And all of a sudden I heard this loud sound. It was a horn, and it was extremely loud. So loud that it really had me put my hands to my ears. And when I looked up, I felt like it was a raging bull on wheels headed towards me. And I was like a deer caught in headlights, and I couldn't move. I was frozen still. And all of a sudden I felt something lift me up, like literally by my collar, and lift me up and threw me across the street. That sound that I heard was coming from a 16-wheel truck. He saw me. He didn't know what happened. It was the truck driver. He actually was able to pull over several feet away. I'm still lying on the ground. I don't know what happened. And I see this man running towards me. He's going, Miss, are you okay? Are you all right? I kind of looked up at him and I said, yeah, I'm okay. He said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I think I am. I think I'm okay. And he said, can I call someone? I said, no, I'm fine. He left. I got up and I started walking. I was like in a daze. And somehow I found my way back home. And I don't know, it was maybe 11, 12 o'clock at night. Found my way back home. And I remember getting in the house. My front door was open, everything. And I remember coming back into the house and just kind of sitting on the floor with my legs crossed. And not knowing what happened. I don't think that's a story I ever told you, Star, is it?
No, you didn't share that story with me. How old was I?
Oh, wow. You were probably about 3 at the most, maybe 4. I think you guys were at your grandmother's house that evening. And as time went on, me trying to understand all of this that happened, I end up finding something about Dolores Cannon. There was a lecture, and I'm listening to her. And there was a snippet in that lecture where, guys, she was a hypnotherapist. Not a channeler, but a hypnotherapist. Somebody who has been doing this over 40 years. I think I mentioned before, my regret is that I never got a chance to meet her before her transition in 2014. And she used to regress people. And that's what she did. and she was a aggressionist. And in this particular lecture, she was speaking about how the ET would speak to her through her client. And one of the things that she said that they told her was that they would prefer that people have a clean, mind, a sober mind, no alcohol, no drugs, because when a person is intoxicated or under the influence, they tend to take the messages that are being given to them and it's distorted. And I remember having quite a few of those, thinking, am I dreaming? Is this real? What is this? While I was high. And hearing just that snippet kind of started to pull me away from using drugs as much as I had been using them. I was what you called an active drug user. I was able to go to work. I was able to take care of my kids. I was able to take care of my household. Nobody knew I was doing these things except me and the universe. But when it got out of control, because I was supposed to be doing something else with my life, I had an awakening. So, yeah, hopefully somebody will get, inspiration. I don't know. But thank you, Star.
You're welcome. I wanted to know though, like, what type of drugs were you on?
Well, let's say I started out with something very simple, mild, weed. Started out with that. And I graduated myself, if you want to call it a graduation, more like a declination, decline. And I started using PCP and LSD. That was the choice of my drug habit. And I did that for a while. And there's a lot of things that came with that I had to, some of the things you will remember, and you were young and not understanding what they were once when I was hospitalized because of it. So yeah, that was my drug use, drug choice, LSD and PCP, angel dust.
Wow. So you're saying that during those times of your drug usage, that there was something beyond the Bible passages and the scriptures and the religion overall that kind of, saved you.
Well, it got so bad, I went to the hospital. Actually, your grandmother called the police on me, for me, because of me. They picked me up and they said, what is she on? And my mother didn't know. She just knew I wasn't myself. And she assumed. Older people then said, they never said drugs, they said, she's on that stuff. And that stuff meant some type of drug, but they didn't know what it was. And I do remember that night, a police officer, she was a female, and I was so out of my mind. And this was before the truck incident, by the way. I was so out of my mind that the officer, she drew her weapon and she said, please don't make me use this. Do not make me use this. I don't want to. She said, I need you to settle down. Put your hands behind your back. Please, I need you to do this. And I did. And they handcuffed me And they took me to the hospital, to the psych ward. As a matter of fact, it was the hospital where you were born. And that was one of the worst experiences of my life when I went to the hospital. They did the blood work, the lab work, the sample, the hair, pulling it from the root of your hair, the urine. They did everything. They did everything. And that's when they found out what I was using. So, yeah, and that wasn't the end of it. That was more or less the beginning of me not using drugs anymore. The end of one cycle, the beginning of another cycle, and then taking me through another cycle, which maybe we can talk about that next on our next episode. But Dolores Cannon was pivotal. And I know that sounds crazy. A woman that I've never met before, a regressionist, a hypnotherapist. But the things that she was saying, I was experiencing and had experienced those things in my life. I didn't understand what they were. I didn't understand the messages. I didn't understand the signals. I didn't understand any of that because I was always under the influence of something. And I know many of you probably have experienced some things and not understanding what they were or what they are. But, I'm drug-free now. I haven't had anything. I don't even drink wine anymore. I used to love a glass of red wine, but I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't get high. And so a lot of things that culminated into me from that point to this point. So hope I didn't bore you guys too much. But
oh no, you definitely didn't.
But the ETs and Dolores Cannon, all of that played a very pivotal role in my life.
Well, thank you, Mom, for sharing that with us. Because I don't think most people understand what those feelings are when they're in a deep, dark space and something that pulls them out of it. I think your story is relatable, and I think it's going to help a lot of people out there get past what they believe that they can't see. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me. And by the way, guys, this is the first time that I've ever talked about this in public. My family knows. Some are still, this is my first time, and I do hope it helps someone. And I hope you guys can come out the closet. I know you DM Star a lot, and maybe you can start leaving comments because you're not alone. You're not alone. None of us are alone. And so, sounds strange, I know, but just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah. And that concludes today's episode of Talk ChaLata. And if you like what you hear, like I said, hit that subscribe button on YouTube or follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, under Speak Your Mind Radio. Thank you again, Mom. And next week we'll have an even better episode for you guys. So stay tuned, okay? Peace.
Thank you. Bye.